Welcome, friends. Episode 14, Dan John playing music. Today we're out in West Ottawa, out in the fields and out in the outback. It's cold. It's about minus 15 Celsius, but we're trying to get some nice cinematic footage today. So we're shooting everything outside. Everything's in the iPhone 11 Pro. Shooting 4K 60 frames per second in case we want to slow down in post, and everything is in the native app, okay, the iPhone app. No external apps used today. Okay, so I think the trick with all this is getting a ton of footage, tons of shots, as many different shots as you can, close-ups using all the lenses, all three forward-facing lenses or front-facing lenses from the iPhone 11 Pro, and then we're going to do some custom music, put it all together, can see what we got, and we'll check it out from there. Enjoy. Alright friends, real quick walk through this cinematic iPhone project. I'm just going to go through a few shots and talk real quick. The trick is to get a whole bunch of different shots. I use all three focal lengths on the iPhone Pro. I know a lot of people say don't use the telephoto lens, but I'm going to show you that you can still get some pretty good stuff. So I'm going to start with a reveal shot to kind of establish what's going on here. So just a real nice reveal. This is all handheld, no gimbal was used. Okay, and then just kind of a real nice wide shot. Okay, that shot to me looks kind of like it really kind of sets the scene. Okay, and the other thing I want to talk about is the LUT that I used, which was Roman Hense, Hense. The guy's just a phenomenal videographer. His stuff is amazing. He shoots iPhone stuff. He shoots Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. This is how I learn. I learn from these kind of people. I'm a musician first, and this is how I learned how to become a better filmmaker, is I study these people, I ask them questions. So this is with the LUT, and let's show you what it's like without the LUT. Okay, so as you can see, it's very much kind of a more contrasty image. A lot of sharpening. I think that's a digital sharpening that goes on with the software within the iPhone Pro, which is great for certain things, but maybe not cinematic. Okay, I locked my exposure for every shot. So before you hit record, you tap and hold and lock your exposure before every clip. Very important, because I use the native iPhone app. Okay, so it was all recorded native iPhone app. And no other color grading, no gimbal was used, all handheld. I might have stabilized a couple of shots within Final Cut Pro, and I slowed some stuff down because I shot it in 60 frames per second, so I had a little bit more options. Okay, so anyway, let's go back and let's turn that LUT on now. Okay, beautiful. Now you have, to me, a cinematic look. You have a much flatter image. It's taken all of that sharpening out. It's just got this beautiful vintage look to it. This LUT is awesome. It costs like next to nothing. I think it was like $10 for 3 LUTs. Cannot recommend. These were made specifically for iPhone and work like a charm. This next shot, let's see, this one here is a spin shot. Now I actually asked Roman, I'm like, he had 2 spin shots in one of the videos he had done. I'm like, how did you do it? Because he filmed it on an iPhone and it was handheld. I'm like, how did you do the spin shot? Could not figure it out. So I think what he did, we'll pretend this is an iPhone for a second. I think this is how I did it. I held my hand upside down and... Okay, but the trick is you got to do that, and you also have to be pushing in at the same time. I did a bunch of takes. First time doing it. So the first part of the spin, I wanted to do like a full rotation. First part didn't work, but I managed to get it right about here. It started to look pretty good. And I got it looking pretty good, and I think I slowed that down again, and I stabilized it a little bit in Final Cut Pro. But, you know, you can look at the final link, which I'll link somewhere in the video, so you can check it out if you haven't seen it. And I think it turned out well. Okay, aside from that, I did a lot of shooting directly into the sun, nice bright sunlight. Really wanted to get a lot of flares. Okay, some people like the iPhone lens flares, some people don't. I thought they were pretty good. I thought they were nice. They weren't too distracting. And this was a real nice one there. Okay, so very, very natural sort of thing. Now, this is one shot that only shot of the whole thing that I wish I would have had a gimbal for, not just like a moving in shot. So I was literally just holding and walking. Wasn't trying to walk carefully. As you can see, there's a lot of snow. Pretty hard to walk, that heel to toe ninja walk, whatever you want to call it, when you're in snow and boots. And this is probably the only shot that I probably could have had my gimbal, which I do have, but I just wanted to see how much I could do handheld without any other equipment. So anyway, I still think it turned out pretty well. I'm just gonna fast forward to a couple other shots here. What I wanted to show you is, there we go. Okay, there's nothing added to this shot. There's nothing in post. I might have brought down the highlights a little bit. It was maybe a little bit overblown. But I used a telephoto lens, and look, like, first of all, this is a natural lens flare. I added nothing to that. But pretty good depth of field for an iPhone. That's pretty good, man. But you literally have to get super close. I'm talking like inches from your subject to really get that. But that is pretty good, man, for a phone, for an iPhone depth of field. When portrait video finally comes natively on the iPhone, and it's coming this year or next, it's coming. It's going to be amazing. But as you can see, it's a pretty decent depth of field. You just have to get right in front of it, get that telephoto lens, and you can make it work. Okay, that's some pretty good. And then you throw that LUT on there, and all of a sudden you have, to me, some cinematic stuff going on. This shot, I put it in slow-mo in the iPhone, slow-mo mode. Okay, and there were some hedges. I brushed the snow off the hedges and moved backwards. Okay, and there's nothing else to add to this, just a slow-mo shot, natively straight out of the app. Okay, I wouldn't use slow-mo shots all the time, but to me it looks pretty good. Then I was lucky enough to go to a place. My wife found this place close to our house where this dude has alpacas. So we went for an alpaca walk. And wasn't able to get a lot of footage because initially I thought only my 2 kids were going to have an alpaca. But it turns out we all had one each, and I couldn't film. And I did a little bit of filming and holding the leash at the same time. But what could be more cinematic than alpacas? Okay, and again, I'm just going to show you one of my favorite shots here. Again, I didn't get a lot of footage. I just wasn't able to. Let's see here. Maybe somewhere around, get a little, maybe that shot right there. Again, I just want to show you with or without the LUT. So let's take the LUT out. Okay, all right. And again, very, very sharp, bright, nice image. But to me, this is not cinematic. It's just too... I made a home movie type thing. Okay, so you throw that LUT on there, and then all of a sudden, wow, look at that. Just flattens the image, just kind of mutes the tones. Man, what an easy thing to do to throw in. Now, I know everyone says, color grading, do your own color grading. There's only so much that I can do. I'm a musician, a composer. I perform live. I do these YouTube videos. If I can get a LUT and I can throw it onto some footage and get it looking good right away. Now you probably have to tweak it a little bit. You might have to play with the shadows and the highlights a little bit. But I was lucky enough that the LUT that he used for his video was also on a super bright, cloudless day, just like these videos were. So I knew that was going to work. And that's pretty much it. So a combination of a whole bunch of different shots, lots of different footage, a little bit of color grading, either on your own or get yourself some LUTs. I film everything in 60 frames per second, 4K, because it gives me more options. I can crop an image or crop a video and still retain all of the detail. If it's in 60 frames per second, I'm able to slow the image down, or slow the video down. If you shoot it in 24, which I know everybody says shoot everything in 24, but if you shoot everything in 24 and you're like, I'd like to slow that down, it's going to look terrible. It's going to get that jittery, staccato-y video, which you see in YouTube all the time. It looks awful. So if you're going to slow anything down, for videos like this, works really well, then, shooting 60 frames per second. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. You got to do things your own way, but that's just the way I do things. And then lastly, audio. I would have liked to have gotten source audio, one super long clip, like maybe a 5-minute clip of just clean interrupted audio from the location that I could just mix right underneath the track. Okay, so getting source audio really adds a lot of realism to this thing, which I didn't do. I could have kept the audio from all the different clips and spliced them all together. It would have sounded terrible. So instead, I just threw my song on there, which I think works for the footage really well. Try to pick the song first if you can, and cut your footage to the song so you have a nice, crisp, clean beat, or places where you can really line up those edit points. To try to do it the other way is much more painful. So there you have it, my friends. So final thoughts. Can you record a cinematic video on an iPhone? Yeah, sure you can. People have been doing it for a long time. People have shot films on iPhones. And so at the end of the day, it's not the camera, okay? It's all these other aspects that make something cinematic or something great. Audio quality, it's visual quality, it's frame rate, it's a combination of a ton of different shots. It's lighting. Lighting is a huge part of video. You get that wrong, forget about it. It doesn't matter what camera you have. Actually, that's not quite true. If you have poor lighting, there's some cameras out there that are incredible. So can you shoot some incredibly amazing footage and put it together and make it look cinematic? Yeah, absolutely. On the iPhone, without question. It's only gotten better. I'm shooting on an iPhone 11 Pro. 12 Pro, came out last year, as everybody knows. It's even better. iPhone 13, lots of rumors coming out at the end of this year. I'm really hoping, like a lot of filmmakers, for portrait video mode that's actually built right into the native app. Now, a bunch of other things that you can do. You can use a gimbal to stabilize your footage, but for me, the stabilization built right into the iPhone itself is so good. Unless you want to get some really kind of super fast pans and kind of like those whip sort of motions, then a 5-axis stabilizer, is definitely the way to go. But for me, I just like the convenience of having the iPhone just on its own, nothing added to it. I threw the Rode mic into the side of it with the dead cat. Everything was handheld, didn't use any other tripod, nothing, just handheld to see how far I could push it. I think I pushed it pretty far, and I think it looks fantastic. The color grading of the film is again just a super, super key, important part of the equation. So learning a little bit about color grading, even at its most basic, at least, the very least, if you get the shadows and the highlights kind of where you want them, you can do a lot just with that. The LUT that I used, Roman Hensey, if I'm saying his name right, if I'm not, I apologize. His film LUTs are amazing, and the ones that I used were custom designed for an iPhone profile. I just aspire to be as good as these filmmakers that I follow. Roman Hensey is one that's just amazing. Andy To stuff is so good. All of his iPhone stuff. There's a ton of really good ones out there, and they're very inspiring. And it's just amazing what you can do with just that iPhone in your pocket. It's pretty incredible. So at the end of the day, whatever tool you have, get out there and shoot some stuff. If it's a Samsung, if it's an iPhone, if it's a GoPro, whatever, man. You got an old camcorder kicking around, go out there and film some stuff. If you can't get all the other aspects of the lighting and the composition and everything else, stabilization, if you can't get that all figured out and get some good footage with whatever you have, then a $5,000 or a $10,000 or a $20,000 camera is not going to make the slightest difference. Use whatever tools you have, push them as far as you can, and when you feel like you've kind of reached the absolute maximum for what that particular camera allows, then you can start to reach for the next level. For me, iPhone is doing some incredible things. I look forward to the iPhone 13. I'm hoping it's a big update, big upgrade. I'm hoping the lenses are faster. I'm hoping we get portrait video mode. But aside from that, I would look seriously at the Black Pocket Magic, if I'm saying that right, cinema camera. Even the 4K model. I know the 6K model is out, but the 4K model, I know the battery life is not good. You got to kind of rig it up. Doesn't have built-in stabilization, but man, the footage that comes out of those cameras is amazing. So for me, that's where I'll be probably looking once I get ready to reach for that next level. Probably Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, 4K, not the new 6K. 6K, really, do we need 6K? I get it with the downscaling and all that, but whatever. Anyway, those are my final thoughts, my friends. Just get out there, shoot some stuff, edit it, make it look good, and I'll catch you in the next one.